The type of skeleton possessed by soft-bodied animals is known as dash A. Exoskeleton, B. Hydroskeleton, C. Hydrostatic skeleton, D. Hydroelastic skeleton. So the correct answer here is C. Hydrostatic skeleton. Hey guys, so in this particular video we are going to look at 40 probable questions that you may see in your JAMB examination. So let's dive right into it. But before we continue, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so you get information on your forthcoming examination. The first 7 vertebrae is referred to as, sorry, it's a typographical error, A. Lumbar vertebrae, B. Thoracic vertebrae, C. Cervical vertebrae, D. Atlas or axis vertebrae. So the correct answer here is C. Cervical vertebrae. It is made up of the axis and the atlas, followed by the 5 vertebrae of the neck. The feeding level or stage in food chain or web is known as A. Food chain, B. Pyramid of numbers, C. Pyramid of energy, D. Trophic level. So the correct answer here is D. Trophic level. This particular question has to do with ecological management. So it says, assuming you toss a quadrat of 2 cm once on a 1700 cm square of land and harvested 13 earthworms within the circumference of the quadrat, there are approximately how many earthworms are in the entire piece of land? So this question is very simple. All you need to do is to know the exact amount of earthworm you harvested in a quadrat, and they've given us here, they said it's 13. So if you harvest 13 and you toss once, so your answer should be 1700 times 13, which will give you A, which is 22,100. Algae and fungi combine to form dash A. Virus, B. Lichen, C. Aspergillus, D. Bacteria. So the correct answer here is lichen. So whenever fungi combines with algae, it forms lichen. Which of the following performs the same function as the contractile vacuole in unicellular organism or of unicellular organisms? A. Kidney, B. Bladder, C. Liver, D. Pancreas. The correct answer is the kidney, because the contractile vacuole aids in excretion. So the kidney also is responsible for excretion. Energy in the body is stored in form of A. ADP, B. AMP, C. ATP, D. DNA. The correct answer here is ATP. Which of the following is an example of catabolism? A. Amino acid to protein, B. Lipid to fat, C. Glucose to carbohydrate, D. Carbohydrate to glucose. So catabolism has to do with the breaking down. So it has to do with breaking down something larger into something smaller. And if that is the case, the correct answer here is option D, carbohydrate to glucose. Egg to larva to pupa to adult are stages of metamorphosis exhibited by A. Cockroach, B. Weevils, C. Butterfly, D. Bedbug. So the correct answer here is C. Butterfly, because it exhibits complete metamorphosis. It has the 4 stages of development. The opening and closing of the stomata is regulated by A. the chloroplast, B. epidermal cells, C. guard cells, D. the nucleus. The correct answer here is guard cells. So the guard cells are bean-like, they are bean-shaped, and they retract and contract. So the correct answer here is the guard cells. The function of the convex lens in the correction of eye defects is to dash A. diverge light rays from far object to focus image on retina, B. converge light rays to focus image behind the retina. C. Converged light rays to focus image before the retina. D. Converged light rays from far objects to focus image on the retina. So the correct answer here is D. Dash is the correct chemical equation for aerobic respiration. Now, if you know the definition of aerobic respiration, this shouldn't be a problem. So you have glucose broken down in presence of oxygen to give rise to carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So the correct answer is A. C6H12O6 plus 6O2 giving rise to 6CO2 plus H2O plus energy. Dash is not a type of commensal relationship. So a commensal relationship is a type of relationship where one party benefits, however, the other party that is being benefited from is not harmed in any way. So option A, B, and C are all commensal relationship. So the correct answer is D, which is none of the above. The possession of lateral line system is an adaptive feature of A. chameleon, B. aves, C. mammal, D. species. So the correct answer is species. Lateral line system is always found in fishes. So the correct answer is species. Which of the statements is not correct about parasitism? A. One parasite derives all its benefits from the host. That is correct. Most parasites die alongside the host. That is correct. C. Parasites can live either on or in the host. That is also correct. So the correct answer is D. In parasitism, the host always derives some benefit from the parasite, which is false. So at no point does the host derive any benefit from the parasite. Which of the following is linear in nature? So linear means that it is straight. Okay, so the option says A. food web, which is not the answer because food web is not straight, it's a web, so it's not a straight line, it's not a straight chain. Trophic level is not the answer. Food chain, which is option C, is the correct answer for this particular question. The law that states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed is otherwise known as the law of A. energy transfer, B. thermodynamics, C. conservation of energy, D. all of the above. The correct answer is B. the law of thermodynamics. The portion of the DNA that codes for a specific characteristic is called dash. A. gene, B. loci, C. allele, D. RNA. So the correct answer here is A. the gene. This particular question is on genetics. So it reads, if an individual with albino traits, small letter AA, marries another with a carrier gene, which is capital letter A and small letter a, what percentage of their offspring will be a carrier? So we are looking for the percentage that will be a carrier. That means the one that will appear as capital letter A and small letter A. So that is what we call a carrier. So if you carry out the crossing, it's a normal monohybrid cross. If you carry out the crossing, you will discover that about 50% of the offspring will be carriers, because we have two which will appear as capital letter A and small letter a, and the other two which will appear as other genotypes. So you get, so the answer is A, 50. Which of the following is a genotype? So the basic difference between a genotype and a phenotype is that the genotype, you can't see it, but the phenotype, you can actually see it. So looking at the options, option A says blood group, you can't see the blood group. but option B says eye color. You can see the eye color, you can see the height, which is option C. You can also see the shape of the ear, which is option D. So the correct answer here is blood group, since you can't see it, so it's a genotype. Dash and dash make up the androecium. So basically the androecium is the male part of the flower, so the male reproductive system in flowering plants. So which of these two make up the male reproductive part of the flowering plant? A says stigma and filament. That's not the correct answer. B says petal and corolla. That is the flowering part of the plant, so it's not the answer. C says sepal and anther. That's not correct. Now D is the correct answer, which is the anther and the filament. The filament holds the anther in place, so the correct answer is D. Okay, so this is a reproductive question from reproduction. That is the function of the Cowper's gland in the male reproductive organ. A, activation of sperm cells. That is not the correct answer. That is the function of the prostate gland. So the correct answer here is B, neutralizing the pH of the vagina the moment the sperm cells are introduced into the vagina. So that is the correct answer. C is not the correct answer. D is also not the correct answer. Which of the following is not a feature of monocotyledonous plants? So we know the monocot plant and the dicot plants, right? So the options here says A, branch venation, B, hypogea germination, C, parallel venation, and D, one seed leaves. Which of the following is not a feature of monocot plants? So we know that the correct answer is branch venation. Branch venation is only seen in dicot plants. So monocot plants will always present with parallel venation. Ribosomes are responsible for A, respiration, B, digestion, C, protein synthesis, D, transport. So the correct answer here is C, protein synthesis. Sex-linked inheritance or traits are found on A, autosomes, B, sex chromosomes, C, ribosomes, D, cytoplasm. So the correct answer here is B, the sex chromosomes. The highest trophic level is occupied by A, producers, B, herbivores, C, carnivores, and D, decomposers. Now, a lot of people will say the answer is C, carnivores, but the correct answer is D, decomposers, because they're actually at the end of the chain. So producers produce the food, herbivores feed on the food, carnivorous animals feed on the herbivorous animals, and the decomposers at the end act on the dead carcass of these carnivorous animals. So the correct answer is D, decomposers. The functional unit of the kidney is A, neuron, B, nephron, C, alveolus, D, the vilus. So the correct answer here is the nephron, B. The deficiency of insulin causes A, hypertension, B, diabetes mellitus, C, anemia, D, cancer. So the correct answer here is diabetes mellitus. Dash is not part of the divisions of the cerebrum. So the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. So the option says A, cerebellum, B, temporal lobe, C, occipital lobe, D, frontal lobe. So the temporal lobe, occipital lobe, and frontal lobe make up the cerebrum. We also have another one which is called the parietal lobe. Yes, the parietal lobe. So these four make up the divisions of the cerebrum. However, cerebellum is a division on its own. It's not part of the cerebrum. So the cerebellum is a smaller division that hangs just behind the occipital lobe. So the correct answer is A, cerebellum. Dash and dash brings about coordination. So Coordination is actually brought about by two major systems: the endocrine system and the nervous system. So the correct answer here is option B, the endocrine glands and the nervous system. Which of the following is both an endocrine and exocrine gland? So option says A, pancreas, B, adrenal gland, C, thyroid gland, D, parathyroid gland. So the correct answer here is pancreas here, because the pancreas secretes hormones into the bloodstream and also into hollow tubes like the intestine. So the correct answer is A, pancreas. Pituitary gland is located at A, top of the kidney, B, neck region, C, testes, D, base of the brain. So the correct answer is the base of the brain. That is where the pituitary gland is located. The hormone insulin is secreted by dash: A, kidney, B, pancreas, C, ovary, D, the liver. So the correct answer is the pancreas. So the pancreas secretes insulin. Alright, so this particular question is on food test, and it says when iodine is added to starch solution, what happens? A, it turns red, B, it turns purple, C, it turns pink, D, white precipitation. So whenever iodine is added to any starch solution, no matter what it is, it will always turn purple, okay, or deep blue. So it's around the purple, deep blue, or violet color. So the correct answer is B. What type of placentation is observed in Citrus sinensis? Citrus sinensis is the botanical name for orange. So the option says A, basal, B, free central, C, axial placentation, and D, marginal placentation. So orange naturally has the axial placentation. So the correct answer is option C. Dash is not a type of asexual reproduction: A, budding, B, binary fission, C, multiple fission, D, conjugation. So budding is a type of asexual reproduction, binary fission is also a type, multiple fission is also a type. So the correct answer here is D, conjugation. It mostly happens in paramecium. Dash is the transition between aquatic and terrestrial habitats: A, arid, B, marsh, C, freshwater, D, estuarine. So the correct answer here is marsh, option B. Dash is also called the flight and fight hormone: A, oxytocin, B, progesterone, C, adrenaline, and D, gonadotropin. The correct answer here is adrenaline. It is found on top of the kidney. The gland that secretes the adrenaline is found on top of the kidney. Which of these factors does not influence the rate of diffusion? A, concentration gradient, B, state of matter, C, temperature, D, aerosols. So option A, B, and C all are factors that influence the rate of diffusion. However, option D, which is aerosols, is the correct answer because it does not influence the rate of diffusion. And the last question for this series is question 40. The weaker solution is often regarded as A, isotonic, B, isohypotonic, C, hypotonic solution, D, hypertonic solution. So the correct answer here is hypotonic solution. Thank you very much for watching, and one of the best ways you can support us is to share this video, subscribe to my channel, put on your notification button so that whenever I drop a video you will see it. So thank you very much, and expect more of the questions from this channel. Thank you, and see you in my next video.